Okay, well, we had to come up with a little bit of a creative solution because the R1200S does not come with the center stand. Even if you use this rear stand, the problem is then I can't drop the final drive in order to get access to the shaft and then lube the splines. So we had to come up with a bit of a creative solution here. And I use basically ratcheting straps connected to the ceiling and then use that to lift it up. And I tried to use one of these scissor center stands, but what happens is that actually raises the front of the bike. So you can see the front of the bike is actually off the ground. We need to come up with some creative solutions in order to get this bike in the air so that we can work on the final drive. I don't know if there's another lift that maybe uses a mount here in order to get it up, but again, because there's no center stand, there's only the side stand, really challenging to get it off. But anyway, we got the rear wheel off. So let's go ahead and get the rest of this stuff going. We need to get the rear caliper off and make sure that we can access the fill plug before we drain the oil out of this. So let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, so I basically undone everything. So you want to make sure you undo your calipers, and that's a T45, so a couple of T45s. You break those loose, get a bungee, pull it out of the way. Then you want to go in here and get your ABS sensor out. And the sensor is held on by a T27. So the T27 is there. And then there's a little clip that holds your wire in place. And that one's a T20. And so you want to undo those. And then what I normally do is I just put them back in their home so that way they don't get lost. Then you move that wire out of the way. And then you want to take off this nut, which is a 16 on this side, and then a T45 on the other side. And once this comes out, then this is going to want to drop. So it's kind of a two-hand effort. You kind of want to hold this up while you push that out and then slowly release it. And then that should drain the oil. I'm looking for another drain plug. I don't see one. I took this out, which was a T45 as well, for this plug here, but I don't know if that's the drain plug or the fill plug. It feels like it should be the fill plug, and there should be a drain plug down here, but I didn't see one down there. So we're going to go ahead and drop this, and then we'll see what happens. All right, so there you go. So now I've exposed the splines, you can see here, and we're going to go ahead and lube these with Molly. And I just ordered just a little bit. I don't have very much, and just use sort of a brush to brush it on the inside here, on the inside there. But what I also want to do is get into the front of this. So I need to go up to the front of and I'll go on the other side, and there's another boot here, and it's going to be hard to see, but want to get in there and try to leverage the drive shaft out. So it's going to be a little hard because of the way I've got the bike set up. There's kind of a post in my way on the other side. We'll go ahead and try and do it, and I'll try and show as much as I can of it, but that's the general idea. You might be able to whack it out from this side. I saw a guy with sort of a screwdriver, and he kind of tapped it. I don't want to tap it too much because, again, this bike's not very stable on these straps. I mean, it's not bad, but I'd prefer if I don't have to leave it on those straps very long. So I'm going to go ahead and try and get a pry bar and try and pry it off from the front. Okay, well, I ran into a bit of a problem in that this drive shaft does not come out the back like on a GS or GSA. I did some more research, and on the S model, you actually need to remove the entire swing arm, take the drive shaft out the front of the shaft. So that involves probably taking out the exhaust, removing the shock, and then dropping the whole swing arm. So what I think I'm going to do is there's actually enough space in the front for me to just get my fingers in there and put a little bit of lube inside the spline and on the shaft as well. And then I'm going to put it back on sort of in place. And then I can do the same in the back and put it all back together. So this time I'm not going to take the swing arm off, but the proper way to do this procedure is to remove the entire swing arm and then take the drive shaft out the front, do a proper lube. But I think I should be able to get in there without having to do all that. But I think the next time, now that I know that, I'll set up some time and do it properly. take out the whole the shock and everything and redo it. This is supposed to be good for 12,000 miles, so we'll ride the bike this year, and then maybe over the winter we'll do the full procedure. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll button everything back up, add the fluid to the final drive, and again, you've got to measure it. It's only 180 milliliters is what you want to put in, and then it's the same gear oil in the transmission, so I'll drain that, refill that, and then button everything back up. So
many hours later.
All right, well, as you can see, this got a whole lot more involved. I could not get the drive shaft back in. So what I'm going to have to do is actually remove the whole swing arm. In order to do that, I've got to take the shock off and then take it off from here, and then just remove the whole swing arm. And I guess we could do a proper lube that way and get the drive shaft back on. So in order to do that, I had to remove the exhaust. In order to do that, I had to take the rear pylon seat off. And if you didn't know how to do that, there's a little cord right here that you pull, and then you slide the seat forward. So you release that and then slide the seat forward. It comes off these pins. Then you've got these two really big nuts, or Torx bolts, and you take those off, and that will allow you to remove the muffler, or the exhaust, sorry. And what you need to do is just take these springs off with the spring tool. So that gives you access to this bolt. So we'll go ahead and remove that. Then there's a bolt behind here and a couple on the other side, and that'll allow us to drop the whole swing arm off. So let me go ahead and do all that. That way I can get this all put back together and at least get a wheel back on it. Because right now I don't want it hanging sort of from the rafters all night long. So let me go ahead and do that. All right, in order to get the swing arm off on this side, it's a few of these T25 screws. There's three short ones, or three long ones, and then one short one. And what you want to do is take the one of the long ones, put it in the center here, and then I just used a pair of needle nose pliers and was able to just leverage it out. Didn't take a lot of force, so just pop it out, and then that's this side. Then you want to go on the other side. All right, well, somehow the clip got deleted. So on this side of the swing arm, what you're going to need to do is get a 30 millimeter socket, and that holds the lock nut on there. And so you want to remove that. And then once that's backed all the way off, then you need a 12 millimeter hex to back out the actual swing arm pivot. Not a super difficult job, just a little bit finicky. You want to make sure that you get a nice thin screwdriver, because there's a small notch that you can get your screwdriver behind. That way you don't ruin it. And then you can see kind of right there, and you can see it, but there's a little bit of a notch. And that'll let you get a really thin screwdriver behind it and pop it off. And then once you get it on, just pop it in, and then I try to make sure that the indentation's at the top so that I can see it next time to get a really thin screwdriver in there to pop the cover off. You know, putting the swing arm back was a little bit challenging. So I tried for multiple hours trying to get the drive shaft back onto the output shaft of the transmission and was just not having any success. Then my wife was able to find on the internet that there is a rotational alignment. In other words, it's clocked. The drive shaft is clocked to the transmission. I don't know why they did that, but anyway, you just got to try it a couple times, take it off, put it on. If it's not going on, just rotate it a little bit, get to the next spline. And there's about 20 different combinations. And then once you get one that works right, it'll just slide right on, and you give it a little tap to get the circlip to lock in. But again, want to thank my wife again for finding that research. Otherwise, I'd probably still be out here trying to get this drive shaft back on. Well, that was a beast and a half. What you want to make sure is that the drive shaft on the transmission side has an orientation guide. And so it's not just going to slip on. You've got to make sure it is correct. So you basically push it. If it's not going on, turn it one spline over, push it on again. If it doesn't go, push it over another spline. So you got 20 different combinations, it's 20 splines, and one of those will end up sliding on. Not super easily, but it'll go on. So it's not gonna go on real easy, even with the grease on there. But again, if you've got it oriented the wrong way, it's never gonna go on. So you just wanna make sure it gets on there, and then make sure you tap it so that the circlip takes effect, and when you pull on the backside, it's not gonna slide off. So that's in. I've got the swing arms back on. I'm gonna remount the shock. I'm gonna lube this side, put this back together, and then we can start buttoning everything back up and do the oil.
The next day.
All right, well, after a good night's sleep, back out here and buttoning things up. And so just wanted, I'll put all the torque settings in the description below, but basically had to get the rear spring bolted back on. So you tighten that nut or bolt, do the top one, and then also you want to do the swing arm pins. And so you start with the right side first, get that inserted, tighten it all down, then that's locked in that place, and then you go to the other side. And then what you want to do on that side is you've got to seat it. So you tighten this, it's a two-step process. You tighten it to 15 foot-pounds, then you back it off, and then you only need to tighten it to, I think it's 8 inch-pounds. So very, very light. And then once you've got that set, you want to mark it. So you can see I used a permanent marker to mark it, because then you've got to tighten this big nut, this 30 mil nut, to about 105 Newton meters. If you do that, you run the risk of this also tightening, which you don't want. So you just kind of mark it, make sure it doesn't move, or if it moves, just make sure it moves really, really little. And that locks that pin in place, and then all you do is put the cover back on, and just pay attention to the cover. There's a little slot for you to insert a screwdriver, and so I just kind of have that aimed towards the top. That way it's easy for me to find later on and pop it out later. So I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little groove on the cap, and that's for you to pop in a really thin screwdriver. All right, so that's back on. So got the exhaust back on. Then you want to get your caliper back on. And so we tighten the caliper up, got that tightened to the correct torque setting. Then your reaction rod, you want to tighten that. Make sure that that's tightened to the correct torque spec. And then tighten your wheels back to the correct torque spec. So from here, all I've got to do is fill up the fluids on the rear drive. On the final drive, you only add 180 milliliters of gear oil. So I bought this little filler bottle, and it's got a marking for 180, so I'll fill it to that. And then your gear oil, it's hard to find because most gear oils now have anti-slip modifiers in them. And so you want to try and find one that doesn't have it. And the only one that I was able to find was this Liquid Moly Gear Oil 75, weight 90, that does not have anti-slip friction modifier. So not sponsored by Liquid Moly, but so far it's the only one that I could find. So I'll measure up 180, fill that up, put the drain plug back in, and then we'll use the rest of this to drain and fill the transmission fluid. All right, here I am with this filled up to 180. Make sure you're measuring it when the bottle is completely level. And then we'll go ahead here and fill it in. And it used to be that you would fill it to where it would drip out, but can't do that anymore. So we're just gonna go ahead and squeeze all of that in there. All right, the final thing that we're gonna do is go ahead and change the transmission fluid or gear oil. And so here is your fill plug, and it takes a fairly big hex screw to get off, but you wanna make sure that you crack open your fill before you do your drain, because if you drain it and you can't fill it, then you're in a world of hurt. So always open up the fill plug first, and you can see it's dribbling out, so that's the right level of fluid that you wanna have. I'm just gonna close it up real quick. And it's a hex 8. I got this set from Harbor Freight, and it's a fairly decent size hex, and it was on there really tight. I don't know if it was supposed to be on there that tight, but it was on there super, super tight. So we'll get that, and then your drain plug is right underneath. It's hard to see. It's sort of right here, right behind the rear set, and it's a 19 millimeter socket. So I can get you a good shot. It's sort of right there, 19 millimeter socket. So we'll go ahead and crack that open and then let it drain. Man, the fluid that's coming out of there looks pretty clean. So I wonder if they changed it and then put it in storage, because that looks almost clear, brand new. Anyway, we're gonna swap it out. It's been a a few years. So once that finishes draining, I got a special super rare earth magnetic drain plug. You don't need that, but I wanted to go ahead and do it. We'll go ahead and replace that, and then we'll fill it up with 70W90. And again, you just fill it until it starts dribbling out, and that's your fill level. And then I'm gonna top off the engine oil, and then we'll go take it for a quick ride.
All right, well, we let the bike warm up a little bit, and seems to be running okay. Probably need to replace the tires, because the tires feel a little, they don't feel like they're gripping really well. But it's gonna be a warm day today, so I think that'll be okay for a quick test ride. But seems to be working okay. It's going through the gears pretty good. Idle still seems to be a bit off, so might need to do a throttle body sync here in a little bit. But it pulls really strong. Taken me a little bit to get used to the clutch where the bite point is. I stalled it a couple times because I might need to adjust the levers. These has adjustable levers on them, and so maybe I just don't have it on the right setting for me. And then I did something with the electronics, so I can't get this radar detector to work yet. But otherwise, bike's pulling really well through all the gears. 6 gears. Brakes are nice and strong. There's a little bit of rattling in the exhaust. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe there's a loose bolt somewhere. I gotta check that. But in terms of a shakedown ride, I think this bike's working pretty good. Handles really nicely. I did get the original triple tree clamp to put the clip-ons back on, but with the bar riser and this other triple tree clamp, it feels nice. It does hit the fairing a little bit, but it gives me good leverage, nice upright riding position versus the more tucked in. So maybe I'll just leave these on for a little while, just ride it as is for a little bit, and then worry about changing them over later. So all right, well, I'd call this a win. Seems like the bike is working well, and we're just gonna go out and enjoy it. So I'm gonna get a little bit of gas coming up here at a station, and then keep going on a ride. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.
If you're enjoying these videos, please consider subscribing to the channel and to the newsletter using the links below. We'll share more tool buying tips, classic car and classic motorcycle project finds, some motorsport news, and maybe a wrenching tip or two.